CSL Delaware. The sacred passages for today are on the topic of interconnectedness. Ernest Holmes writes in The Science of Mind, "One life behind all that lives. One, one, one. Never two. The unity of all life. To learn this is to know a secret of the ages." And the second passage comes from John Kabat-Zinn. "Perhaps ultimately, spiritual simply means experiencing wholeness and interconnectedness directly, a seeing that individuality and the totality are interwoven." Let us join as one voice in speaking these words of truth together with conviction. This is my eternal moment of revitalization and renewal. I know myself as the radiant expression of the universal wholeness which God is, I am. I dedicate my life to expanding in love, creativity, spiritual authority, and generosity, which naturally flows inward, upward, and outward by means of me.
Yes, enlightenment. Thich Nhat Hanh. Enlightenment is when the wave realizes it's the ocean. And we are those waves, and we are the ocean. And that perspective is one that is a game changer. And it is one that we, as students of New Thought, Science of Mind, continue to embrace over and over and over again. And I am seeing it continue to just permeate every aspect of our being to the point where our perspective, wherever we go, whatever we do, whoever we are with, whatever is happening, that we go back to that memory or we come from that place of knowing who we are in truth and this beautiful interwovenness or interconnection, this unity of life that is sometimes seems elusive to us because of our physical senses that seem to tell us otherwise. And yet, if we can continue to look through spiritual eyes, to see with the eyes of God, we'll realize that everything is one, that we are all one. And this month begins what is known in the New Thought world and beyond actually as the season of the earth. So it is a time for us to take a little more time in contemplating the amazing nature of this beautiful blue-green planet that we call our own. And whenever it comes time for the season of the earth, what flashes into my mind is the moments when the astronauts were standing on the moon and they panned the camera back toward planet Earth. And there was this awakening that took place in humanity of, oh my gosh, this precious blue-green planet that's hanging, in mid-space is our home, and we must do everything we can to protect it. And there's a new movement that's taking place. There's a beautiful article on it in the Science of Mind magazine this month. Matthew Fox, how many of you are aware of who Matthew Fox is? An amazing man. I've heard him speak several times. And he has gotten together with a couple of millennials, Skylar Wilson and Jennifer Listig, and they have formed an organization, a new organization as of December 17th, 2017, so very recently, that's called the Order of the Sacred Earth. And they are gathering people from all the age ranges, millennials all the way up to the elders, who are working together mindfully and with a very strong purpose of cultivating something called the warrior mystic in all of us, because they realize it's not just the warrior. Often people who are environmentalists have been the warriors, but what's required, he is saying, and others and all of us are knowing this to be true, is that the mystic consciousness is a really important part of this. Because when we cultivate the silence within us, when we learn to come from that place, the deep inner place of who we are in truth, that our actions are different. They have a different quality to them than if we just simply go out there and fight for environmentalism. So they're recommending all of the spiritual practices that we so dearly love and more, the chanting and drumming and meditating and visioning and vision quests and all of those things that come from all the different world traditions, spiritual traditions, that help us to grow and to expand in our awareness of who we are, so that when we take action, we come from that higher, deeper, more expansive place. And they have a beautiful vow that they've invited everyone to embrace, and it goes like this: I promise to be the best lover and defender of Mother Earth that I can be. Anybody want to say that with me? Okay. I promise to be the best lover and defender of Mother Earth that I can be. Isn't that beautiful? And so why a vow? It seems like, oh, another vow? Are you kidding? But vows are using the power of our word to make a powerful difference. And when we make a vow, we are motivated, we are committed at a different level than if we just join an organization, and just say, okay, I'm going to do something. What is being called forth by this group, the Order of the Sacred Earth, is that people who participate allow themselves to be pulled by a higher vision, a beautiful sacred relationship with the planet that will engage us into action that is really sorely needed at this point in time. And, Matthew Fox reminds us that the earth is suffering, and he said, where there is suffering in the world, we must do something to alleviate it. So, yes, there are many places on the planet that look really beautiful and intact, but we also know from some of the things that have been presented, and I know I've been in certain parts of the world where the land has been just desecrated, and it's shocking to see the litter and the mindlessness with which it's being treated. And so as and sometimes we can feel very small and maybe powerless in doing anything about it. It's like, who am I? I'm this one person in this huge planet. But we all know that where our power begins is in our thought, is in our intention. And that thought and that intention to be a healing presence ripples out and does make a difference in our conversations with other people, in our choices with just things that we do on a day-to-day basis. I mean, we have a compost pile in the back of our house. That's one of the things that we do. And there are many, many things like that. We know all we have to do is look online, and we can find all the different ways that we can make a difference and an impact in our own and reduce our carbon footprint. Each one of us, there's something we can all do very easily and effortlessly. So claim your power is what I'm inviting you to do. There are things that you can do. And remember how powerful your thoughts and your intentions are and your prayers for the planet. So, Mother Nature, I'm going to continue on with our theme. Mother Nature is a great teacher. And I think of the redwoods. And the redwoods, oh my gosh, the redwoods. They can be as high as 350 feet. That, for those who can't do the math, is like 35 stories high. 35 stories high. These things are huge. And yet, they withstand incredible windstorms, floods, fires, all kinds of things. So how do they do it? Don't you wonder how do they and they last thousands of years, these stands or groves of redwoods. Well, the interesting thing is their roots only go 5 to 6 feet deep, considering how huge they are. It's mind-boggling, isn't it? 5 to 6 feet, and this thing is like 35 stories high. But what they do is they interweave their roots with each other. So they form this interlocking web that holds them all in a real stable position. Do you see the beautiful metaphor that offers us? Why community is so important? Because it's a way that we interlock our roots with each other and support each other in times of the windstorms of life, the floods of life, the fires of life, whatever might be going through. That this beautiful metaphor of the redwoods can remind us of how important it is to stay connected with each other and interconnected in community and interconnected in a community where spiritual truth is taught and valued. How cool is that? Yeah?
Very cool. So does that mean if one stood by itself, it might fall?
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Do you see how that is with people? When we try to just stand by ourselves and not reach out and not be a part of community? Yeah. Very good. So it's important for us to be aware of the ways in which we separate ourselves from this idea of oneness and interconnectedness. And one of them is, if you can imagine putting your hand up in front of you. Let everybody put your hand up in front of you for a moment. And repeat after me. I can't see the forest.
I can't see the forest.
For the
For the trees.
for the trees, right? For the tree. And isn't that okay, that's a great example of what happens when we have a particular worry or concern. And we ruminate on it. We go over and over and over whatever it is that's bothering us. I caught myself in that just last night, actually, and I went, oh my gosh. But that we can do that. We can get caught up in the tree, the singular tree, and forget that we are forest people. We are born to be forest people, to see the possibilities. We live in a field of pure potentiality and possibility because we're more than this third dimensional world. We are fourth dimensional beings. We live in the field of pure potentiality and possibility. And I love the idea of forest people. So repeat after me. I'm a forest person. I can see the trees. That's right, the whole forest. And there are other little things. There are little memes that get out there in the world and can keep us separate, feeling separate from one another. And here's one of them. How many of you have heard this one before? Not my monkey, not my circus.
Yeah.
Anybody hear that one? Think about what that does. It's dismissive of people that we consider to be monkeys or problematic people. And it keeps us in a mind of separation. And here's the interesting thing about that is many of the great spiritual teachers, Ernest Holmes is one, and another one that I think is just such a great example is Dr. Len, who whose spiritual practice is Ho'oponopono, a Hawaiian form of spirituality. And he says very clearly, if something is in your awareness, it's your responsibility. If it's in your awareness, it doesn't mean you have to go out there and fix it physically, but it means that there's some clearing in your own consciousness to do, to wash away the judgment, to see the wholeness and the perfection, the beauty of that person that's in front of you. So the whole world is actually one great big circus. The universe is one great big circus, and all the monkeys are part of it, including us. So it's important to be aware of these things, though, these cultural memes or these things that people say that we can easily pick up on and then get caught up in that whole mindset of separation. So it's important for us to be aware and to not allow ourselves to go in that direction. So more on the whole idea about monkeys. How many of you heard of the 100th monkey? Yeah, the 100th monkey theory. When one monkey on a particular island began to wash its potato, then pretty soon the monkeys on the other islands that had no connection with them started doing it at the same time. There were scientists that were observing them because of the interconnectedness of consciousness. So the monkeys were connected with each other in consciousness. The same thing happens with us. And see, this is a great reminder of how powerful we are as individuals. When we shift our own consciousness, it has a rippling effect on everyone around us, but even beyond. So here's a beautiful method to help to bring greater divinity or greater enlightenment to the planet is when you notice yourself judging, whether it's yourself or whether it's others. You can simply do this. This is just a very easy thing. Even though I blank, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. This is actually part of the tapping philosophy, and you can tap while you're doing it. But the point is remind yourself to love yourself even though you're judging. It's a great way to break that pattern easily and right on the spot and without going into another judgment on yourself and realizing that there's a tendency to judge. That's kind of the way that we're designed. But we can do something about it. We can rise above it. We can transform it. We can be that new rippling effect of divinity that spreads across the planet every time we have love and compassion for ourselves and for others. I think there's another tendency that gets in the way of us staying in this consciousness of oneness and interconnectedness. And it's this idea of thin and thick spaces. Thin spaces is a term that they're not really sure where it came from, but they're thinking maybe it's Celtic, where they talked in the Celtic tradition, they talk about the distance between heaven and earth is 3 feet, and I don't know how they came up with that, but it was 3 feet. Yeah, and but in the thin spaces is what they say that heaven and earth merge and become one. So think about what how that's permeated our culture, where we will travel long distances to holy places so that we can have that experience of the thin space or the raising of the veil, which is I love this particular song that we're doing. Where heaven and earth merge and we have that experience of divinity. We do our spiritual practices for the same purpose, to have that exalted state of unity and oneness and wholeness, and what a great joy that is when we achieve that. But here's the interesting thing about that. Again, that's another little trick that our minds are playing. Our minds are creating the thing called thick spaces by thinking that, oh well, I can have an exalted state here, but I can't have it here. If I'm in the midst of a sea of humanity, it might be really hard to have a spiritual experience. I'm inviting you to break that pattern right now and realize what the Aborigines realize. They say that heaven is everywhere and every when. Divinity can be found everywhere and every when. That's an Aboriginal saying. So everywhere, every when that we are, heaven is taking place. I wonder, what would happen if we all began to see heaven everywhere, every when? Even just the people in this room, what would happen if we began to realize that we are in heaven each and every moment? What would happen? Yeah, right. Our hearts would be open. It's beautiful to think about. So, I too wonder what would happen not only if we realized heaven is right here and right now, but we also realize that we are forest people and the field of pure potentiality and possibility, the forest, another way of saying the forest, is available in each and every moment. We are drawing from that. We are one of the one mind. We are the one mind individualized of God and that pure potentiality. What if we also realized that the entire experience of life on this planet is one circus, and all the monkeys that we're playing with each other are all our responsibility to love, to simply love, to see them with love, no matter how they're behaving, no matter whether they're swinging from the rooftops or, doing what we think is kind of messing things up. What if we could be that presence of love in the midst of it all? I'm calling this forth from myself just as much as I am calling it forth from all of you. Because the truth is, and I love this about Ernest Holmes, he says there's one. There's only one. There's not two, there's one. And we are that one individualized. We aren't separate. Seems like we're separate. We're not. We're of the one. We are forest people. We are divine people. And our planet, our beautiful planet, is our responsibility. We are the stewards of it. So I invite you to consider, what is it this month that I could do, some small thing that would make a difference for the planet? And it could simply be, who knows what it is, picking up some trash somewhere. I don't know. But I'll let you decide what that is. And I'd like everybody to stand, because let's do some affirmations together. Let's ground it in. Okay. So just say, I vow to be a defender and lover of planet Earth and all her inhabitants. I'm raising the veil between me and my God. No separation, no distance at all. Heaven is right here in my heart. And so it is. Amen. Woo!
You know what really just absolutely excites